Hello and welcome to Look for the Light, a podcast where we dive into the world of The Last of Us. I'm your host, Stuart Traynor, and I'm joined, as always, by someone who would absolutely take a detour into a music store for an 80s bop. It's Jess Sterling. Jess, how are you doing?
Yeah, you know I would. And you know I can't wait to talk about that particular scene from this episode. I'm really excited to get into it. I don't know. We may have some disagreements, Stuart, this episode. So I'm intrigued to see if we agree on everything or not.
It's interesting because I am finding that many of the audience, the player bases, they're kind of fractioning into various groups of I did like this, I didn't like that. It's very kind of, I
Yeah.
think season one was very kind of universally beloved or hated, whereas
Yep.
this is very, again, like the game, it's a bit more complex. There's a bit more kind of factored in themes, ideas, and things, and people are latching onto some things, they're latching onto others. That's interesting. What were your broad thoughts on it though? Before we get into the
Yeah.
whole kind of what you did and didn't like, broadly speaking, on the episode as a whole, good, bad?
Yeah, I'd say good. I would say my overall gut feeling about the episode was especially after a second watch, I left the episode feeling pretty good about where we are. I think there are certain markers that were okay, when are we going to get to the TV station? When are we going to get to the movie theater, right? There are certain destinations that I'm keeping an eye on. I think the set pieces, no qualms, were gorgeous, so true to the video game while also being just incredible visually. I think some of the changes they made really worked for me and some not so much. And I think and I've been trying, Stuart, I was talking to myself this morning, not out loud, but in my head. And I was make it sound like I'm an insane person. And I was thinking I don't want to be the person who played the video game and then is mad that they changed things just because, right? If
Yeah.
I'm going to be upset that they changed something, there has to be, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes and think, but why did they make that change for the adaptation? Is there a good reason, or did they just want to try something different? And, why am I upset that this isn't the exact same as the video game? And am I just being someone who's well, that's not how it was in the video game? I don't want to be that person. So I'm trying to very much be reasonable with my feelings, which sometimes can be very unreasonable. So yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
This is the thing, is people that have played the games, it's jarring when they do make changes, because even though you want to be level-headed, you want to say, well, they're making a TV show. TV shows are a whole different beast to a video game, because it's a completely different way to tell a story. Because with a video game, you spend a great deal of time as a character, you really get into their shoes. And with a TV show, you can tell various different perspectives, various different timelines. It's all over the place. And so you'd like to think that there are really kind of thought through choices and a real kind of consideration for those changes that they do make. But it doesn't make any of the changes less jarring, really, does it? When you have expectations for how things are going to go. And I find that there are substantial changes. I mean, we're talking about a game that is a long runtime. The Last of Us Part 2 is a very long game. And so to condense that, we know that season 3 is coming, but to condense at least half of it into a series of television which is only 7 episodes long, you have to make choices. And I think this episode is a prime example of seeing those choices on the screen now, finally. But we will certainly get into it. But before we dive into things fully, if you're new here, please do make sure you subscribe to Look for the Light wherever you get your podcasts. If you want a more visual experience, we are also on YouTube at Look for the Light Pod over there. And let us know what you're thinking. What are your thoughts on this episode? What your theories you might have? Any other feedback? You can reach out to us at lookforlightpodcast@gmail.com. And you don't need to worry. Though we've played the game, we won't spoil anything ahead or anything that comes up for the games in the kind of broader podcast itself. We're going to focus on what happens in this week's episode only. And if you're looking for deeper story with the context of the game comparisons, stick around at the end and we flag a spoiler section towards there. But unless there's anything else, Jess, are you ready to dive into this episode?
Let's do it.
The citizens, why do you call them voters?
I don't know. Because that's what we fucking call them. Who cares?
Because we took away their rights. Took away their right to vote, and somebody started calling them voters to mock them. So now you know.
We open with Josh Peck. This is the weirdest opening for me. I had no idea he was cast.
I don't think
so
anyone
strange.
knew, right? Like
No.
this was not a casting that was ever made public, and it is very jarring. Specifically, I think if you are around our age, maybe even slightly younger, Drake and Josh was like a thing. This is a very notable guy for people around our age, and playing a character that is just. He's not being typecast. He's very different from any character I've seen him play, and he's just like such a douche. He's such an uber douche, if you will.
It's really funny because Josh Peck's been taking on a few other roles. Like he had a minor role in Oppenheimer, which was again kind of really strange, and so he's making that transition into being like taken seriously as an actor and things. But still, I can't not see it. It's still at that point, like transitional point for me, where like I need to see him in enough serious things before I kind of like stop remembering him from Drake and Josh kind of times and just hug me, brother, and all of that stuff. Like I need to just get that out of my head. But I thought he did a really great job playing a real sleazy son of a bitch who was telling a joke, a very long-winded one. I mean, do pull focus for quite some time before getting to what this whole scene is, which is just establishing that Fedra in Seattle were exactly what you would expect of an occupying fascist force. They took away people's rights. They mocked them. I mean, they called them voters as a kind of way of mocking them. I mean, that's all you really need to know about these people. But we get probably the most badass introduction to a very kind of long-awaited character from the games. We finally get to meet Isaac, played by the incredible Jeffrey Wright, who is the voice actor from the video game. This is another instance where a voice actor has taken up the same role that they did in the game. We had it before with Mel Dandridge playing Marlene in season 1, and then we've got it with Jeffrey Wright this time playing Isaac. What were your thoughts on Isaac, Jess? Because this is a big deal, right?
Yeah. No, Isaac, obviously this is coming a little earlier than it would in the video game, but I like this. I think we need to establish who Isaac is and to go back, right? We're in 2018. Like we are flashing back to tell this story of Isaac when he was still a part of Fedra and his just like disgust with the group of people he's in this tank, a big military truck, whatever you want to call it. He is like so disgusted by them because they call the citizens voters because you were mocking them. We took away their right to vote. And now the citizens are upset. And Isaac, you could tell he's like disgusted. He doesn't want to be a part of this anymore. And when, we see there's this other guy named Greenberg who seems, as his name would suggest, kind of green to being a part of Fedra. And they get blocked by a bunch of citizens, just people in regular everyday clothing. And of course, my gut instinct was like, okay, I know these guys are Fedra. So these citizens have to either be, are they Seraphites? Are they Scars? Or are they like WLF? Like who are these people? And there's also a mention of pamphlets in Josh Peck's story, which we have to assume, again, Scars Seraphites. And Isaac gets out and he says for everyone else to stay inside, like no one take their weapons. Again, a very strange, and he doesn't fit in because these guys just so badly want to shoot guns. They're like, our dicks are huge if we shoot guns, so we must shoot guns. Like that is life. Guns are life. And he says, no, like don't do that. And he goes out there, meets up with the mom from Euphoria, aka Alana Ubach, which you recognized as someone from Legally Blonde, right? You said
Legally Blonde. This is so weird. I was like, of all things I remember her from, I was like, is that her? Looked it up, and it's like, yeah, it's Elle Brooks's like friend from the side. And I was like, this is such a strange like casting to see from like people in minor roles and other things appearing in very kind of serious roles here and stuff. But still an interesting thing because I'm like, if I recognize them, they should be of importance. And I don't know who
Yes.
this is. This is
Right.
wild.
This is completely new. So of course my mind immediately is like running a million miles a minute because it's always important if you recognize somebody. This isn't just an extra, no offense to the extras,
Yeah.
you're doing your job. But I was like, I know this woman. So maybe she's someone of importance. And who is the only person who is like a she, uses the term she and is of importance that I don't know about, right? That isn't an invention like Gale or something like that. And of course, immediately I was like, maybe she's the prophet. Like maybe, as we assume, I think we can all safely assume Isaac goes from being in Fedra to a part of the WLF. So probably these people are WLF, right? But I was like, what if the original prophet is from the WLF, right? Like, what if it's a branch off of them?
It's entirely possible, and this wouldn't actually be too much of a leap, I think, because I think they were talking about it on the official podcast, is that what they are showing, especially with the interrogation scene that comes later, which we'll get into, is that there's this establishment that there are splinters within groups, and that there is this fractioning, much like the fan base that we just talked about, like of many people kind of like splintering off with different interpretations of things, much like religions and political ideologies, is you will get splinter groups that believe certain things. And I can totally see this being the case because it all lends itself into this wider thing of othering of people. This is why the conversation in the tank is like so important, because it's very reminiscent of the mindset of many soldiers that went to Vietnam, is that they would often not refer to the people that they're fighting as people. They would try to dehumanize them because it's the only way in which your mind can kind of like wrap itself around the kind of horrors that you have to commit. It's often a thing that happens during wars. And so when they like later on, we get the reference to like scars being animals. And again, with this, voters, like you take away that humanity to justify what you're doing, and it makes them other to you. And it's funny how you can shift your identity from one group to another, but also keep that identity kind of flowing through as well with Isaac, because Isaac is like, well, no, I'm going to ditch Fedra. I'm going to join whatever this group is, which we assume to be the formation of the WLF. And perhaps from that WLF, you could find the Seraphites like coming off of it. That's such an interesting theory. And it's really funny because it also kind of mimics the spread, the growth of cordyceps and mycelium and fungus and how it grows and evolves. There's a lot of things to kind of like consider here with it. And I think that's a really kind of like deep read into it, Jess.
Yeah,
I hope it has legs.
It's just something where when you recognize an actor, you're like, oh, well, then they must be important. And if they must be important, maybe they're the most important for the Seraphites, right? Like that we know this other group will exist. And we'll talk about it when we get to it, but specifically in the interrogation scene with Isaac, when he was talking about the prophet, I just got vibes of he actually knows her personally. And maybe that's incorrect. Maybe that's just the way he's speaking about her. But it felt almost like, you guys are so silly. Like you call her a prophet. I knew her back when she was just a regular, lowly WLF person, right? So it's really intriguing. And I'm also a big fan of them throwing in this other character, Greenberg, who, Isaac recognizes he's still new enough. He's not jaded enough by all these other Fedra guys. He's the guy who like doesn't necessarily, he's not as disgusting as like the Josh Peck character. So he pulls him out of the truck before he, kills everyone else in it and gives this guy a choice to follow him. And we'll see him later. And like, God, how time has changed that guy. So it'll be really intriguing to follow not only Isaac, but this newer character, Greenberg, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Stuart, I don't remember there being a Greenberg in the video game. So
no, completely made up for this by my understanding at the very least. I think it's probably A kind of, if you think of it, maybe a couple of characters that were nicked from the game,
Right.
that kind of vibe, perhaps. But certainly the relationship with Isaac isn't one that we kind of necessarily have. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's an interesting choice to create a new character like this, but a great way of like humanizing Isaac in a way, and to not make him seem as just being badass for the badass sake. Like he has an
Right.
ideology, but he's also not like he's considerate in a way. Like this kid hasn't damned himself because he's new, he's not indoctrinated, and so Isaac is reasonable, and it's good to establish that kind of complexity in Isaac's character, that he isn't just an idealist who is willing to sacrifice an entire truck full of people. He's going to sacrifice an entire truck full of people minus one, because those are the people that were laughing along with a joke and were too far gone to really be brought into what his mindset has kind of shifted towards. Yeah, strong opening scene, and again another great reason as to why these things get adapted to different forms of media, because we would never have had this otherwise.
Yes, because we weren't playing, like there's no one to play as. So we're able to get a little bit of insight into who Isaac is, maybe why he is the way he is, in a way that we would never get in the video games. And I loved this. So this is one of the things that really did work for me. And I think it's a good spot to put it too. I don't think it's wrong to put this particular scene in this particular episode in this spot. I think it works really well to set up who Isaac is.
What's up with all the rainbows? I don't know. Maybe they're all optimists.
We then get some looting. We get people rummaging through drawers, finding things, not finding things. Probably the most realistic aspect of the game put onto screen, because there's a lot of looking for ammunition and supplies, because it's an apocalypse. You can't just go to like a store and pick this stuff up. Like, you've got to scavenge your way through. And we find that Dina is looking through a Weston's pharmacy. Again, another touch from the game, because that's the one that you get that you rifle through in the Left Behind DLC. And she finds something of curiosity, which we come to discover is a pregnancy test, several pregnancy tests. This has been flagged for God knows. Like, if you weren't of the mindset that Dina was pregnant,
how many times does she have to vomit for you to realize it, people?
Yeah,
you know, she's vomiting everywhere all
around
the
the
time.
face. It's like, if you didn't pick it up then, this is your last chance to work it out on your own thing before we're going to tell you later on. But yeah, this again, we kind of like get Seattle day one. They've arrived. They're looking through everything. And this, for me, when I was playing the game, this was one of my favorite things, because it's one thing to see outskirts and suburbia and like kind of everything kind of being a bit generic. And I've never been to Seattle, but I can recognize landmarks. I can recognize the vibe of things. Like, I've seen things filmed in Seattle and stuff like that. And to see that in such a state of degradation and aging, with like nature reclaiming it, is so wild. Like, you've been to Seattle. I imagine this is kind of a bit of a strange feeling to see something like this.
Yeah, I've been to Seattle. It's the Pacific Northwest specifically is like very gorgeous, and they did such a good job here, because I agree with you. I love in the second part, or part 2 of the game, just sandbox, like the sandbox that is Seattle. Like, you don't have a particular order of things you have to do. You can go explore different buildings in different orders. And it's gorgeous. They did a great job with recreating a lot of Seattle, but obviously, making it so that nature does reclaim it. And what made me so sad is the fact that Ellie and Dina don't know what pride is. Like, they don't know what rainbows mean. This doesn't exist for them. And they're like, oh, why are there rainbows everywhere? Oh, maybe they're just proud. Like, oh, so much for happy, proud Rainbow Town.
Maybe they're optimists. Yeah. It's in a way, it's jarring, but it's also perhaps good. I was thinking, like, it can be read in kind of either ways. One is that maybe perhaps this new world isn't one where pride is necessarily needed. But then I had to remind myself, no, Seth exists. And
Dina's mom exists. Like, we'll talk about that later, but it's this is not a world without discrimination. Like,
Mhm.
it stinks because Pride is very meaningful to a lot of people. You know, we're coming up on Pride Month not too long from now. And so, like,
Mhm.
to have two characters who aren't straight going through Seattle and not recognizing a pride flag, like, that sucks, you know?
Yeah.
But it's the way the world works. And like, who's worried about pride when you're worried about surviving till the end of the day? Like, no one has time for that, at least at the very beginning of everything that happened.
Mhm. It's also like and I say great way, like a very kind of profound way of um, talking about like the continuation of knowledge and belief systems and things like that. Like in the game, something that isn't in the TV show, like Dina is Jewish in the game, and there's a scene where they actually go through a synagogue and like kind
Oh,
of
I love
there is
that
that
scene.
discussion of things, and it's like it kind of mirrors that in a way because it's talking about like the loss of culture in this because it isn't something that's handed off because yeah people are too preoccupied on survival to really kind of think about handing those things down. Like there are no, by the sounds of things, what with the other one that was referenced in the first episode, there aren't many gay people in Jackson, and so where are the elders to pass on this information and knowledge
Right.
to the younger people about these things? And it's quite profound that it's acknowledging that these things are lost because of this, and we're not just losing aspects of our humanity. We're not just losing things like technology and safety and things like that. We're losing culture as well, which is substantial, and to do so while also having kind of slightly amusing lines of just what's all the rainbows about. Like it's amusing at first, but then when you really drill into it, it's actually quite deep and very sad. And Seattle looks like it's been through hell. No bombs dropped, but there are tanks all over the place that they explore and cranking it open, and there are like charred corpses inside. A great reference to the Apollo missions from Ellie, kind of like layering on the kind of space love and everything like that. And we get to the music store. This
Oh,
is
before that,
so good.
bef-
Oh yeah.
before that, I just need to shout out that I love that they've given Dina this like kind of tactical thinking. We
Mhm.
we talked last podcast about how she is much more measured and logical than Ellie is, and that's why they make such a great team. And so having Dina be like, listen, there's a news station in the distance with WLF spray painted on it. They want people to see it. They're up on a
Yes.
hill. They'll see us coming. Like, we're not just going to run into danger, Ellie, because if Ellie's on her own, that's exactly what she's doing. And I love that they've given Dina this, like, and she's like this in the game too. So I'm not saying this is like a TV invention. That she is the one who's often has the maps out, has the radio on. She's figuring out
Mhm.
where to go, when to go, why to go. I love that this was a new thing for the show, but it just took things from the game, like Dina just being very tactical. I loved it.
Yeah, they've embellished it like completely. Like the fact that Dina's the one that planned everything in the last episode as well. Like it makes sense, and it's great to see them take these little nuggets from the game and just flesh them out like fully.
Mhm.
Not to skip over the TV station as well. Like the TV station, we've been talking in spoiler sections and stuff, assuming that the TV station stuff was going to get cut completely. Was this a big surprise to you to see it at least referenced?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't exactly know what they would cut out. But obviously knowing that that is like a particularly like gruesome thing to do in the game, I wasn't quite sure how they do it. So the minute that
Mhm.
we get them like noticing the TV station, I was like, "Oh, hell yeah, it's going down."
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need some strong scenes. We're coming up later,
Yeah.
essential ones really to kind of like show the complexities of everything. We'll certainly get into that when we eventually arrive there. But before that, we do get to the music store.
I'll be gone in a day or two. In a day or You've gotten pretty good.
Thanks. All those lessons from Joel.
He taught you well.
He did.
Shimmer's munching down on some grass and seemingly is probably still there by all accounts. And
Yeah.
mercifully, we didn't get the scene that was in the game with Shimmer, so we'll gloss over that, but we'll leave that for any
Fingers
gameplays.
crossed we don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I loved having Shimmer in the store in general. I just thought that was very funny that she's just hanging out in some grass. And yeah, this is my favorite scene of the episode. I'd be surprised if it wasn't most people's favorite scene in the entire episode because it is pulled pretty much exactly from the game. Like most of it is shot in a very similar manner that is so faithful to the game, where Ellie finds a guitar and she picks it up and begins to play Take On Me by Aha. And it's like this very slowed down version. Bella does like a fantastic job. I think like it's
really good.
it is so good. They know how to play guitar, so that certainly helps. But of course, the look on Dina's face, like, stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. You know, I can't. Like, she adores Ellie. There is no two ways about it. It's written all over her face. And she is like in tears by the end of Ellie singing. It is gorgeous. It is perfect. I have absolutely zero notes. The lighting, Stuart, the backdrop, stop it. I love it so much.
Can we talk about the fact that this is a set? This is a practical set with real lights, real moss, real like instruments, real everything. Like there is a lick of like kind of like obviously post-processing and things like that. But for the most part, this is like a physical environment that is being built. And it shows because everything about it just looks so rich and detailed and doesn't have that kind of like weird uncanny valley kind of like sense of just, well, I know that like that's a composite onto like a backdrop and things. And the light that comes in from behind is just so stunning. And again, like small little touches of like adding the reality to the situation in that you see moldy, like kind of thin wood that has been taken by time, and Ellie there sees a case, opens it, and there's like the silica packs to like take
Don't
all
eat
the
them, Ellie.
absorption in it.
Don't eat them.
Yeah, don't eat them. Bad idea.
Every
like,
time
she's
I get those in
really
something, I'm like,
thankful.
really? Who's eating these? I know they
Yeah.
have to do it, but who's eating these? They're not
Yeah,
candy.
who is?
Yeah.
But I just like I appreciate those little touches of just like kind of explaining, because you know you're gonna get discourse online. Just how comes there's a guitar that like is perfectly fine, and it's like okay. At times you need to take a bit of a jump in terms of like kind of believability. You just have to kind of embrace what's being thrown to you. But like I do like touches like this where they kind of just make everything in the world make a bit more practical sense. And yeah, the slow approach from Dina, the way in which she just watches and falls in love with Ellie singing. It's just so good. And just a little touch of like getting up and like kind of wiping away the misty eyes because it was such a beautiful thing. I'm so glad it was thrown in because this is
have to do this scene.
optional. It's optional in the game, though.
I know, but it's not optional in all of our hearts, and it needed to be made. If they didn't do this scene, like there are certain things that they have changed about the Dina Ellie love story. Like obviously, there are certain things they had to change, and shifting around when conversations are happening in terms of the timeline of it all. This was non-negotiable, in my opinion. Like you cannot cut this because number one, it's gorgeous. Number two, it also does signify like a shift in their relationship. And also, Stuart, I think, eagle-eyed viewers would notice this is an 80s song. And if you remember from season 1, 80s songs mean danger. And so it is also just this like foreshadowing of trouble to come. So there's nothing about it. You need this scene. And I was so, we knew we were getting this obviously from trailers and everything else, but it didn't change how I felt when I watched it. I loved every second of it. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. I loved it.
Of course, this means it doesn't retain heat the way cast iron does, which of the two makes copper the inferior choice for interrogations. But if you own Moviel, You use Moviel.
She watches over me.
Then she's been watching you get your ass kicked. You know, there are even scars who don't believe she's some magic fairy in the sky, huh? Some of you actually understand she was just a person.
Heretics.
Of course.
Sadly, we go from a very, very beautiful and stunning scene to probably the most horrific of this episode, at least,
Yeah.
or one of them. There's actually quite a few, but we get Isaac, who's lighting a hob, and you think
Lighting a
hopefully
what?
lighting a hob, like do
A
you not call them
hob?
that? The burner. Do you not
Oh.
call them hobs? Is this another
No.
British US difference?
I don't know what a
Jack.
hob is. We just call
Oh.
them burners. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, he lights that up, and you think maybe he's going to cook something lovely. No. He's looking to heat up a pan so he can burn someone in an interrogation. Wonderful. Oh, how lovely. This is rough. We get something like this in the game where when you first meet Isaac, he's mid-interrogation of someone, but it's more psychological. They're in a dark room, and he's just keeping them awake and asking them questions. And they've quite clearly been beaten, so there is a physical sense to torture as well. But this one is just more a direct, like clearly Isaac has been beating the crap out of them already and is getting to the end of his tether and wants some answers. And does so by talking about his love for cookery and pans and their conductive elements. Thoughts, Jess?
Yeah, this is brand new. He talks about how like he could never afford this specific brand, Mauviel saucepans. They're so expensive and he could never afford them. He used to go to Williams Sonoma and look at them because he liked to cook for women he dated. And he talks about how great copper is a great conductor of heat. It heats up way faster than anything else. It doesn't stay hot like cast iron, but it does get hot quickly. And you don't see who he's talking to at first, so people who haven't played the game, who don't know, don't realize he's talking to a prisoner who is completely naked, beaten to hell, and he burns this man with the pan. And because he wants to know, where will the scars attack next? And of course the prisoner corrects him. They call themselves Seraphites, and he starts like almost repeating this like religious thing of, she watches over me, she fills my soul. And Isaac is having none of this. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to listen to any of this. And he thinks he basically is mocking the Seraphites because he's saying, like, you people don't understand. She's just a person. You know, she was just a person. You held her in such high esteem. And this is what made me think, going back to that first scene, that that woman was someone of importance, that maybe she was the prophet or something, because the way he talks about her just felt like there was like an air of familiarity. And maybe that's incorrect, but whatever. I can't theorize about a lot of stuff because I know a lot of stuff. This I have no idea. So it's fun to theorize about. And yeah, Isaac basically says, like, there's this argument back and forth of this truce and who broke the truce first. And Stuart, this is like any war, right? It's like, who started it? Chicken or egg? It doesn't matter. They're still fighting and they won't stop fighting. And it's just, these are two individuals representative of the WLF versus the Seraphites. Because, right, their argument is, well, you killed our kids. Well, you killed our kids first. We know both of them kill kids because we've seen it.
Yeah. It's every conflict ever. Is that there's always a tit for tat, it's an eye for an eye, and it's like the whole world goes blind. What it takes in this whole scenario is for someone to either win or for someone to be the bigger person and to just accept and to build a better world from it. But that is certainly not going to happen here. Isaac is very much of the belief that they will win. They have guns, they have arrows. Like there is a clear difference in ideologies and ways of living. And this person is so steadfast in their beliefs that Isaac, even with all the physical brutality, cannot break them at all. They hold on to this belief system that the prophet, like, she will fill their souls, she watches over them. And so much so that even after having their hand severely burned, when Isaac goes back for seconds, they hold it out again knowing full well that there's nothing they can change from it, and they are mentally strong enough to deal with it because they have that sense of faith and sense of belief. This is so tough because how is this ever going to solve itself if you have these two diametrically opposed belief systems, in that one has to destroy the other and the other one will not be destroyed until they are physically gone from this like plane of existence? It's just setting up that Seattle is fairly fucked.
Yeah, and we find out from the scar from the Seraphite, he says, "You're gonna lose every day. One of your wolves comes to see the truth and takes her into their heart. Every day a wolf leaves you, and none of us ever leave to become a wolf." So the wolves are losing numbers to the Seraphites, if you believe this person, of course.
Mhm.
Which is so interesting. It's like these people are, they're going from a very militant group in the WLF to a very, you know, I don't know, natural sort of a religious group in the
Mhm.
Seraphites. So it's really interesting. And it's at this point that Isaac realizes, yeah, I'm not going to get any information out of this person because they're literally offering me their hand to burn. Like they're not about to give any information up. Let's just shoot them. And this is when we meet Greenberg again. Very different, I would say. He doesn't have many lines even, but it's just this look
Right.
on his face of him calling the Scar a fucking animal. And when the other guard is like really put off by this entire situation, and he's like, nah, he deserved to die. He was an animal. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Oh, okay. How times have changed.
Yeah, calls him a scar, which is kind of strange because again, it shows that kind of like change in their mindset. Is that before why are you calling the citizens voters? Like they seem to be hung up on this kind of like, well, why are you identifying them by a slur? And yet they use a slur to
Mhm.
describe the Seraphites in this case, and then goes on to call them an effing animal. And it's that situation of like that is often deployed in kind of like military engagements, is that there's that othering, that it's the like referring to the dehumanizing of the enemy because it makes it easier to do. Um, it just goes to show how rough this is, but also again how indoctrination can work as well. Like because Greenberg seemed like a completely different person, and between then and now, Isaac's influence has dramatically changed them to the point where they even look like the look they give. It's just one of almost like just I can't almost like they're broken within,
Mhm.
because there was this like almost a sense of like hope in their kind of like first like a curiosity at least to beg questions in a very kind of like hostile environment in the tank, and yet now they're very jaded by the whole world and everything. um Really strong scene, I thought.
Mhm.
And again, another one that we don't get in the games, which is
Yeah.
very great.
It just adds a little extra to what we did see in the games. Like we knew this interrogation was happening, but we didn't actually get to see the full thing. And again, because we weren't, playing a character in the scene, we're allowed to kind of get a glimpse at it, which is it's great. Yeah.
hmm And another instance of the 90s center parting for the guy hair as well. Going back to the whole belief of like
Yeah.
that was fashionable when the
Mhm.
world ended, and thus fashion has never changed.
A real lack of Jesse's arms in this episode, I have to say. My
Yeah,
biggest
I
quibble,
mean,
where are Jesse's arms? Come on.
I mean, maybe the IMDb ratings are justified because of that fact alone. Who knows?
Yeah.
That group we saw in the woods, they did this.
What the fuck is wrong with Seattle?
We then get Ellie and Dina making their way to the TV station under the cover of night, as Dina suggested. They're scoping it out, and they make their way in and find possibly one of a contender for the most gruesome scene possible. First off, we get someone attacked with several arrows. We get the confirmation of the patch, but then we see many WLF soldiers strung up by the neck with their guts hanging out. Rough.
Yeah. It's gross. It's real gross. Uh it it's really jarring for Ellie and Dina because remember, they thought, oh my gosh, these people are victims of the WLF. Like the WLF have killed kids. Like they shot these people in the back as they were running away. Like these people are victims. And then they come upon this scene where it is so obvious that this was the same group, the same people from the same group that they encountered dead on the road. And now they've not only killed WLF, but they have hung their bodies with their entrails hanging out. Like this is a message as much as it is anything else. And they have their own symbol for the Seraphites on the wall. Feel her love with the Seraphite symbol in blood. Like this is gruesome. It is disturbing. Dina vomits again, pregnancy watch. It is not good. And this is where we get the line of, what the fuck is wrong with Seattle? Which I love.
It's so funny because like I love watching shows like this where this is not like shouldn't be a meme show, but you know things where you see it and that's going to become a meme. There's going to be like that's going to be used quite a bit, I imagine. This was so funny because again, it's like real people in a really gruesome situation, and it's like I imagine that someone would say that, just like, what the fuck is going on here? This is horrendous. This is not normal. And to acknowledge the absurdity and the extremity of everything that's going on here, and to also really to have an honest reaction to perhaps how much they have underestimated things and how they are, because they are so in over their heads when it comes to the numbers and when it comes to the brutality as well. I mean, the fact they're writing messages in their enemy's blood on the wall with religious symbols, like, run a mile the moment you see that, right?
Yeah, it's gruesome. And it's, they don't even have that much time to process what's going on. They find a radio and they use the same radios as Jackson does. And they immediately have to hide because in come the WLF. This guy kind of instructing everyone, like, secure the place, look what they did. I loved, I don't know why this made me laugh out loud, but the guy saying, I don't care if it's a fucking baby, look what they did. And just picturing like a baby hanging full humans up. Like, I don't care if it's a baby.
Just lifted the rope or whatever. Yeah,
baby.
So silly. But but again, it goes to show like the brutality of like take no prisoners. I don't care even if they've like left behind a kid or something like that. Like this is it. It's like shoot on sight, ask questions later. And we get them going into a stealth situation. Now, this is the game incarnate. Like the whole thing is about like hiding behind things, keeping quiet, stepping quietly and softly, and not like making noise that you get caught. And one of the most, I think, game things possible is that Ellie sees an opportunity, grabs the guy, and as she has the guy grabbed, is spotted by someone else, which is like always happened, right? It was like, I could almost hear the game's music whenever an enemy sees you. There's this like sound effect that plays.
I just got like a pit in my stomach when you said that because I heard the sound in my own head and I hate it. This is and it's funny because my husband's a huge fan of the games. He's played them a few times, and what he likes to do in specific scenes, like when he knows there's like a ton of people going to be coming for him, is he will, sneak and stealth behind one enemy, hold them like at gunpoint, at whatever, knife point, whatever, when there's another person coming at him, because they will hesitate. They won't shoot you right away because you have their person blocking you. And then he will shoot the other guy and then shiv the guy he's holding. And it's like, it's very much like what we kind of saw, except for Dina is the one to take the shot here. But this episode feels almost the most like the actual gameplay of the game, in a really fun way. Like they make use of it, right? And we see how quickly they dispose of these two people. It's like Dina takes out one in the back, Ellie shivs the other guy, and it's like, we gotta go, we gotta run. And thus begins the action sequence of the episode, which was very fun.
Okay. You good?
Yeah. Is this place gonna fall down on us?
I'd rather not find out. Let's go. That way.
Yeah. This, when they climb through the little tunnels and get into the transit like station, this was too intense for my liking.
I hated that tiny
Of
tunnel, Stuart.
course.
I hated it. Why are they trying to make me claustrophobic every episode? Okay, it's not okay.
So the first thing, like, so here's the thing. So in the second game, they did a remastered version, and they came out with these like abandoned scenes that they never put into it. And in one of them, Ellie is crawling through a tunnel and has a PTSD flashback when she sees like a clicker or a body of Joel lying there. And I
Mhm.
thought for the briefest moment we were going to get that in this whole scene because I was like freaking out. I was like, "Oh no, 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 they're not." But mercifully, we didn't. But it evoked that feeling for me as a game player, and
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they do stuff like that intentionally. But just getting
Yeah.
through to this transit tunnel with the kind of like the subway carts and things, and the flares getting thrown out. I was all in as a game player because this level is one of my favorites. It's the one of the first where you really get, other than the DLC, I believe, where you get the infected and humans in the same area, which is a lethal combination, but also quite a good one because the infected can fight for you in a way because you just have to direct them in the right area. Um, Stunning visuals, the flares look phenomenal. Everything with that kind of like horrible blood red glow to it just lends itself to the whole thing of like danger alert lights going off, reminiscent of the hallway that leads towards the surgery room. It'll be something that comes up later on in the season, I imagine, as well. Oh, it's so stunning, and I'm so glad that they did it justice. This was perfect for me.
Yeah, this was another instance of they changed some things slightly, but it worked for me, right? We have
Mhm.
them throwing the flares. The flare hits a little fungus patch, and that's what alerts all these clickers to come running. Now,
Mhm.
when I played, I am normally a look for stuff girly, you know? I will loot the hell out of every room I enter. But I have survival on the brain, first and foremost. And so when I encountered this specific scene in the video game, I was like, we tossing bottles until they notice the humans. They're gonna eat the humans. I'ma run. And that's what I did. I almost wish that we had Ellie and Dina throw a bottle or a brick to get these people eaten. Um, we could have done it. We still could have
Yeah.
done it because we could have done that and then immediately in the subway cars and all the other stuff we got, right? That was my one teeny tiny. I wanted it so badly, and it's mostly because I myself did that when I played the game. So it is like the tiniest of quibbles, but I really do wish we got that because I think, or maybe even pick up a flare and throw it. Like there could have been ways to get to preoccupy the humans with the clickers. Not that they weren't already preoccupied, but to further preoccupy them and kind of reroute some of those infected to the WLF's way. But the action in was so good. Like it was incredible what they were able to do and how true, even Stuart when they're in the subway tunnel train car things. I don't know what they're called. I don't live in a city. And Ellie has to like crouch down so Dina can step on her back and like get through.
Yeah.
Very much feels like the video game, right? Like they did so many good things here that I really
Mhm.
can't quibble too much. It's just like the tiniest of things.
Also, in a really kind of like I love the way in which like Dina doesn't open that kind of like top thing, climbs up a bit, but like needs a bit of a boost, and Ellie just provides the shoulders almost, just like backs into it. It's like, yeah, you climb on me, I'm still gonna shoot and like deal with these things and like
Yeah.
or like keep like an alert out. This so visceral, and the way in which they clamber through the windows, the way in which it gets slammed, you get the clicker coming up against the glass. Uh, so great. I was on the edge of my seat, and I like we know that they're going to survive. Like they have to. Like, there's no way they're going to cut to credits and go,
Yeah.
sorry, no more episodes. Like you know they're going to do it. But still, the way in which they had me just so scared for them was phenomenal. And when they finally get out of the subway thing, they climb over and they get to the turnstile. Gosh, this was so well done, because the way in which it's like overly rusted, uh like they can't move it, you can totally see why that would be the case, and the way in which they're trapped in there together, and it's not like Ellie has an opportunity to run away, really. Like, she's trapped there seeing her friend just about to like get savaged by this thing, and she does the only thing that she can do. She offers her own arm as bait, almost.
Yeah.
This was great for me, but I did have a little bit of a problem with the fact that it's Ellie getting bitten again. I'm getting a
Yeah.
bit tired of this.
A bit tired of it. Yeah. Yeah, because I don't disagree with you. And I think the problem is that how many times is Ellie gonna get bitten? You know, like, we're
Mhm.
already like exceeding the numbers of the time she got bitten in the game, like, by twofold. Like, she already got bit by the stalker in the first episode, and now and she had to fix that, you know, cut it open and blah blah blah. Now she's like fully offering her arm up. And the problem is, and this was said on the official podcast, I'm pretty sure it's mentioned in the after show, that in the game, it is much different because there are airborne spores and you
Yeah.
can't breathe them in unless you're Ellie because you're immune. And in the video game, you have to wear masks when you go into certain areas that are heavily, you know, laden with spores. And in the video game, Dina's mask cracks. Ellie offers her own, and that is when, for the second time in the video game, Ellie admits that she is immune. So it's the sequence of events is very different, and you know, Dina is able to believe Ellie quicker in the video game because, like, breathing in those spores, like, she'd be dead like instantly. So it's less of a wait and see sort of a game than the bite is, which is
Mhm.
why I would argue, Stuart, that I almost wish, if we're removing a bite from the show, I kind of wish we removed the stalker bite we got earlier in the season and leave this one
Yes.
in, because I think it's more effective. Like, it's less effective the more times Ellie gets bit. It's gonna you're getting less on your return on investment every single time.
Mhm.
And so if we're removing anything, I'd remove the other one, because while I know, and again, this isn't a spoiler because they literally say it in the podcast and in the after show, we are getting airborne spores. That is a thing we
Yeah.
are going to get. It's in trailers, it's everywhere. We know it's happening. But I guess my question is, Stuart, is there a way we could have rearranged some sequence of events to allow the spore, you know, the airborne spores to exist first and therefore have the mask scene still rather than it be a bite?
Certainly, I think that spores could have come about here. I think the problem that they're trying to get over is because the issue why they went with tendrils over spores originally is that you have to think about the practicality of, like, okay, well, what if there is, like, because eventually they're going to dissipate, like they are going to almost
Right.
like get diluted by the surrounding air that surround them, so they only ever work in like contained areas where there is no airflow whatsoever, which is why where I think we're going to get them is probably like a basement scene or something like that that is sealed off. That
Mhm.
makes perfect sense. So I can see why they are trying to avoid it and stuff. But perhaps if they were to have like had some sort of, like, I don't know, cave in or something, like that could have worked for this environment and they could have introduced this a little bit earlier. But the thing I do like about the bite here is what it sets up for when they go into the theater later. And we'll jump into that. So I think for me, the resolution is not to cut this bite, it's to cut the, because there have been 4 bites. There's been the first,
Right.
which obviously was got with Riley. Then there was the second when she was with Joel and Tess to reaffirm that she did
Yep.
have the immunity. Then there's the one at the beginning of this season, which was for me for no reason other than to patronize an audience and to be like, "Do you remember she's immune?" Like, it's that kind of one.
Yeah.
And then this one that's happened now, and I'm like, cut the middle two. because it would have engineered more suspense in the first season, and it would have thrown on more of a kind of like a sense of kind of skepticism and concern with Joel and Tess. It would have shown that Tess was much more of an optimist in that whole situation by convincing Joel, and to show that their bond was stronger by like having that kind of stick around. And then if we had this one, it would have been so much more of a sacrifice, because in Ellie's mind, Ellie is perhaps thinking, like, maybe it was a one-off, and this is a true sacrifice potentially. Like, maybe I would have done this for her, and it would have hit harder while also still setting up the scene that we get that comes next. I think for me that would have been the best resolution.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because I am not anti Ellie being bit. It's more so that she's been bit so many times now. Like, it's losing its effectiveness. Because I actually really liked what follows in the movie theater, where it is very different again from the video game, because Ellie tells Dina twice, in the video game that she's immune. The first time, Dina thinks it's a joke. The second time it's like, no, see the spores, like, I'm fine.
Okay, I know you're scared.
Please don't.
But I need you to understand something.
Please don't make this any harder than it has to be.
Wait!
Why did you do that? Why the fuck did you have to do that?
Please listen to me. I would die for you. I would. But that is not what just happened.
There's this tension in this scene that I really liked. I thought it made so much sense. Now Dina, in Dina's mind, she's like, oh my God, Ellie, why did you do that? Now I have to shoot you in the face. Like, why did you do that? And Ellie's panicking and like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Like, you are going to sit as far away from me as you want. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to bandage my arm. I'm not going to turn. And you're going to see, and you keep a gun on me the entire time, right? Like, I think that was very tense. I loved the way they shot it, where Ellie wakes up from water splashing on her face, and you can't even see Dina. All you see is the light that she's holding.
Yeah.
That was great.
Oh.
So all of those things I thought were so effective. So I didn't mind her being bitten. It was more so like, oh my God, she's been bitten so many times now. And like, all of that worked for me. The thing that didn't work for me is the revelation of the pregnancy. The revelation that Dina is pregnant. It doesn't work for me.
No.
Because Dina has now realized, okay, Ellie was telling the truth. She is immune, right? She's not going to die. This is great news. And like, so then she reveals, I'm pregnant, which again, this makes sense to me, because in the video game, it is Ellie saying, I'm immune, and Dina says, I'm pregnant. And it's like, okay, tit for tat. It's like, you revealed something big about yourself. I reveal something big about myself. It felt very normal and even, and like, it made a lot of sense to me. And it is not said with like this joyous, like, I'm pregnant, confetti, yay. Like, not at all. It is, I'm terrified, because I'm 19 and pregnant. I am pregnant in a world that is so dangerous. And we are on a mission that is so dangerous. And I am also really ill because I'm pregnant, right? That is like a big thing in the video games, is how ill Dina is. And she's not at her 100% right now. So to go from what's presented in the video game as like very difficult and like a very serious, difficult conversation to, okay, you're going to be alive. I'm pregnant. We make out. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't know. Stuart, you talk about this, because I think you said it worked a little bit better for you after listening to some of like the after show stuff, where they explain like why they did it, right? It's like very emotional. I guess.
Yeah, I guess I see it as that. I really want to defend it. I really want to defend it. It's hard, because I completely agree with you. It doesn't work that well. But I think what they were trying to get at is that it's almost like there are two hopeful like revelations almost. And like the pregnancy, I don't know, like it's strange. It's like that Dina is so overwhelmed and kind of so hopeful about the whole revelation that like Ellie is immune, that she can divulge this. But I'm like, but it's not a hopeful thing. Like you said, it's not a negative well, it is a negative thing in my eyes, but
Well, it's a negative thing for
in
them
the whole
too,
situation.
though.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
should be, and it's the
yeah.
whole thing is it shouldn't be this joyous thing. It should be a burden. It should be a problematic thing for them to go through. And I think that they're perhaps seeing it more as like this, I don't know, spark of joyousness to bring them together. It's like a culminating kind of
Yeah.
emotional kind of like peak after like we've been drawing this out for too long. For me, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. And it's almost like they were like, we need the Dina and Ellie connection scene that in the video game happens earlier. Like we need that, so we'll put it here after they reveal this thing, and we'll phrase it as, well, Dina is just so happy Ellie is alive, and that this dream that she has is still also alive of being with Ellie and all this other stuff, that emotion overtakes it. But I just, maybe that's true for Dina, but if you're Ellie, like this girl that I really like just said she's pregnant and we're on this super dangerous mission, and like, I don't know, I guess like whatever hormones, but it just didn't sit with me very well, especially Stuart, because and I hate to say this because I do love the show and I do think like it is so well done and they don't do things just for like the shock value, but that's kind of, it felt very like TV, like I'm pregnant, like, it just it was too TV-y. Like it was too drama for drama's sake, and that is why I really didn't like it. And this is my biggest qualm with the episode by far. It's not even close. I didn't like this. It felt cheap. Maybe that's what it is. It felt cheap. It felt like I'm pregnant. Now we're gonna make out. It didn't like the Dina and Ellie like love story is something that is like so precious to so many people. And I feel like by taking some scenes away and rearranging them a bit and having this here, this kind of their first like physical thing besides the kiss happen here, it just didn't really work for me. And I really wanted it to, because I love both of these actors. I love both of these characters. It just, the pregnancy thing, it's tricky. It's very tricky for a lot of shows. And so I don't know, it just didn't work for me. And I'm sad that it didn't. And I wanted it to. It just didn't.
Yeah. I guess the thing that I'm trying to recall, because I've watched this a couple of times today, and like as happens is that you have a very kind of like initial reaction, it kind of gets tempered a little bit on the second watch and things. And originally, like kind of when I was poring over things, the build I liked with the way in which their relationship was going was that it was a slow build and it was more romantic in a way. Like it felt like there was this long period of courting. It wasn't just we've hooked up a second time and thus we're together. Like it very kind of it seemed to be geared more to be more romance driven than lust driven, which is from things I've been reading from people who identify with this more than I do, is that is often a very big trope when it comes to sapphic relationships. It is very much like lust over romance. And it's what I did appreciate is that we are getting a slow build of a romance between these two. I think the problem is that it's punctuated by this soppy, illogical reaction to some very profound news that I think dramatically changes where we are between the game and the TV show of where Ellie's mindset is. Because when this is divulged in the game, Ellie's like, you're a burden, and is outraged. Like, Ellie is furious because this has compromised everything. And Dina's like, well, I had some thoughts. Like, Dina doesn't do a test in the game. Dina, like, just really comes to the realization herself. Like, maybe, unlike the TV show, she picked up it on the first, maybe second hint that maybe she's pregnant. But the Ellie is like, she even storms off and goes and sleeps on her own. Like, she is physically apart from Dina because they are literally apart in their mindset of this whole like kind of how they kind of grapple with this. And it takes time for it to rebuild. She sees the value in what Dina brings to everything, and it kind of gets a little bit better. Whereas with this, we're not getting that, and I feel like it's robbing us of another layer of emotional kind of conflict between these two, and it's putting Ellie's journey on fast forward because we know where we have to get her. This is a story of revenge. It's gonna like we're in episode
Yeah.
4. There are 3 episodes left.
Yeah. I'm so with you on this because talking about kind of shifting to talking about the morning after, right when they wake up.
Is this where you were bitten before?
Yep,
You said it was a burn.
most of it is.
You did it to yourself?
I really wanted to wear short sleeves again. It's a little thing, but when you start to hide little things, they become big things.
You don't say.
I so agree with you. It's like there's a lot of montaging in the video game in terms of like Ellie and Dina are on this journey a long time together, and they're bound to have some conflict. And so to have the pregnancy reveal go along with this like first time sleeping together and having it be way more joyous doesn't really work for me because Ellie's story is one of revenge. And so
Mhm.
her finding out Dina is pregnant and is pregnant while being the only other person on this journey with her, and Ellie relying on Dina, right? In all of these situations to have her back, she should be upset. She should be upset Dina is pregnant. And not, of course, with Dina and like blaming Dina for being pregnant, but more so
Yeah.
the logistics and the reality of the situation of the journey that they're on together. Like, you are now a liability in a way that you weren't before. And maybe we're shifting things a lot in that, you know, in the video game, Dina is very sick, like extremely ill. And
Mhm.
like, she isn't. And, you know, she's puking when she sees some gross things that probably most of us would puke at. That's about all we're seeing in terms of Dina not feeling well. And so
Yeah.
it's so different, and it's very jarring at how different it is that Ellie is saying things like, "Oh, so we're gonna have a baby and I'm gonna be a dad." And all of that felt not right to me. Like, it just, and I'm not trying to say Ellie can't be excited. It just didn't feel true to who Ellie is, that she immediately is like excited instead of thinking of the logistics of what is happening here. Like, Ellie's mindset, she has a one-track mind, and it is, I have to kill Abby and make her pay. And I can't reckon that mindset with also being excited about Dina being pregnant and having a baby. Like, you can't squish those two things together. And so it just didn't work for me.
Mhm.
And along those same lines, you know, there are some pretty big differences in terms of Dina's sexuality in the show versus in the game. In the game, it's never really a question. Like, Ellie questions whether or not Dina likes her, but I feel like it's always abundantly clear Dina likes Ellie. Like, and it's never really treated as anything other than like, I like her. And in the show, sorry, we're getting more of Dina's backstory in terms of, you know, Dina's mom, you know, shaming her. No, you don't like girls, you only like boys. Dina being like afraid to be her true self. Again, that didn't really work for me, mostly because I just wish I could have a single piece of media where being anything other than straight is like just okay. It's fine. And
Yeah.
I know that is like maybe a little unrealistic of me to think. And we have people like Seth, and we have like, again, the pride flags that Dina and Ellie don't recognize. We're gonna have asshole people and people who are just they don't like what they don't like, and they're not gonna like it, and they're not gonna be okay with it. They're ignorant, and they're all of those things, right? Like, we're going to have that. I just was hoping for once that we could have Dina be bi and be like comfortable with it,
Yeah.
and be, you know, and not have it be this like traumatic thing that it always is. It always is in every piece of media I watch. And so I was just upset because Dina is so, and And Stuart, like, I'm not even, because Ellie is that person, right? Like, Ellie doesn't know any other way to be, but like, she's gay and she can't be any other way. Like, she
Yeah.
just doesn't have time to lie about who she
Very
is.
unapologetic about it. Yeah.
But Dina, to me, I feel like we could have done the same thing with Dina, but it not be because she's unapologetic about it, but just be because that's who she is. She's so full of life. She's so loud and proud, and like, that's who she is. Why couldn't we have that in the show? Like, we
Yeah.
didn't need to have this like traumatic backstory of my mom didn't accept me, and so I didn't accept myself, and I tried to make it work with Jesse, and like, we didn't need to have any of that. And I just wish we could have didn't have to have that.
It feels as if what they've done is they've taken out one immediate thing of conflict and they've added it into a backstory to like do a bit of a tit for tat, and it's not a fair trade in the slightest. And yeah, I completely agree with you on the whole front of like, why can we not just have a bi or a pan character just be that? Like, why can they not just be who they are and to not be fucking dragged down by trauma all the time, especially when we've established that this world, we're losing cultural touchstones of like kind of religions and pride and things like that not being handed down. So why do we have to keep handing down the trauma stuff? Why,
Yeah.
if we can forgo pride, why can we not forgo homophobia? Like, why, if we can erase the need for a pride, why can we not like erase the cause of why pride is necessary in our world? It's just, I think I see the decision making, what they've done. I think they view a TV audience very differently than what they do a game audience. Perhaps Naughty Dog were just maybe a bit more bullish on the I don't care. Like, when it comes to like the several like 30 plus hours that you play through this game, like this is a small blip of a narrative element. Whereas with a TV show, this is a much bigger portion of a kind of like smaller
Yeah.
amount of time. So therefore, it's much more of a consideration. It's also reaching a more broad audience who do have very kind of inflamed opinions. And it's much less progressive. Even though video game audiences are very kind of a type. But I wish I just wish they took it in a different direction. Like, I wish that they
Yeah.
hadn't taken it this way. And it's a shame because the theater, like if we're talking about things being faithful to the games, the theater is perfect. Like when I saw it,
Yeah.
I got a lump in my throat because I was like, that's the Pinnacle Theater. When they got inside, and I was like, holy shit, the interior matches like exactly. It's almost as
Yeah.
if they've rendered the video game in real life. It's remarkable. So it's strange how they will be incredibly faithful when it comes to the sets and those aspects, but they aren't to the characters. And not even to the story, to the characters. Because
Yeah.
this is a fundamental change for the pair of them, and it's jarring.
It is. And I think maybe if I wasn't already so upset about the pregnancy thing, like maybe this would have like rolled off my back a little bit easier. But I was just like, ugh, like why? Like I just, for once, and maybe it's a too big of an ask, but it's just like, for once, can we have characters that aren't straight just not have this trauma of their parents not accepting them? Like, can we for
Yeah.
once get that? So that just, I don't know. It sucked. And again, these actors are so incredible. Like the chemistry is off the charts, right? Like
Mhm.
they're acting beautifully, perfectly. The set design, beautiful, perfect. So it's none of that I have the issue with. It's like you said, it's the decision they'd made in terms of the characters, and like presenting it in this way fundamentally just changes some stuff about who these characters are, and it just stinks. And yeah, then there's I mean, then we switch over to like, okay, the radio starts going. They don't even have time to like really sit in this like the after morning glow or whatever, because
Mhm.
they hear voices on a radio. Nora is mentioned, and we have to go to Lake Hill because that's where Abby is, because Nora's gonna know where Abby is. And we get this like really beautiful shot of Seattle, and building is on fire. And they have to have this discussion, Stuart, of like, okay, Dina, like you can stay. Like it's too dangerous. You should stay. And Dina
Mhm.
saying, no, we're going together. So apparently they're going together.
We'll see how that pans out when it comes to it, but it seems that they're on this mission. They're going to continue this mission, and with Nora getting mentioned, Nora's first on the list. So we'll see how that pans out for Nora. It seems bad to, I guess, end on a bum note. Like this is, I feel like this, not conversation has dragged it down. Like their choice has dragged it down. But I don't want to let that tarnish what has otherwise for me been a fantastic episode. I think it's just a choice that, for me as a viewer, I'm going to gloss over. As an episode as a whole, I think I'm going to look at this like fairly favorably. I might just skip the end a little bit because I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I loved most of what they did. It's just the two things that I had the biggest issue with were right at the end of the episode and are big things. So it's hard because I generally really liked the episode and I thought all the Isaac stuff was really well done. The action sequences were incredible and very faithful to the game, and even the things that weren't faithful to the game really did work for me. Just certain choices they made I wasn't a huge fan of, and I have to be honest about that. And I'm trying my best to not be the person who just doesn't like things because they're different than the game. Because there are things that they changed that I've loved. It's just this didn't work for me, and I really wish it did. Because unfortunately it's the end of the episode, and it didn't work for me.
It didn't. Oh, a lot to unpack there. That was quite a doozy. Is there anything else you want to cover about this episode, Jess, in terms of like themes? Kind of, obviously you've got your theory as to Hanrahan and kind of what their role may be. I'm excited to see how that pans out. I think you've got something to like claw onto there at least, because it seems from the things we've got coming up is that we're sticking with Seattle. We're not getting kind of any like major deviations from things. So there's some good stuff coming up, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I will say something very positive to say about this episode is that it really does a great job at setting up. It's really good at world building in terms of we're setting up this like massive war between the Seraphites and the WLF, right? Like they already had established this, but I think having Isaac as like this like center point for it, this like key figure that we're following, is really it's really important to the story, and I think it will help especially viewers who aren't familiar with the video game really make sense of things, is having a person to attach that to in Isaac. So that was really well done. And I think that like they're doing a good job at like, because it's difficult when you're playing the game, it's confusing. And so they have a lot to pack into, especially only 7 episodes. Valiant effort in terms of, establishing the sides of the war and putting names and faces to those sides of the war. I think they've done a really great job at.
Yeah. So I think that brings us to the end of our fairly spoiler-free discussion, though we have talked about a lot of comparisons between the game and obviously the TV show. But if you are heading out at this stage, thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed the episode, please do consider subscribing, leaving a review, or dropping us a comment. We really do want to hear from you, and it really does help us out massively. But if you are still here and you're looking to dig a little deeper into what's upcoming and perhaps into some spoilers related to the game, now is the time to stick around because we are going to be going spoilers ahead. There's a lot, really, that was teased that we know is coming up. Obviously, with your theory, there's I think big deviations of things coming from the game, because obviously we don't have the fullest history when it comes to the Seraphites very much. We do on the WLF a little bit in terms of Isaac and his indoctrination into the WLF, but we certainly don't know much about kind of the original formational things. We have just whispers, as you would expect from things like religion. This was just such a good episode when it comes to those little things just being set up for that we know is coming up. Where do you want to start with the spoilers? Really, what kind of took your
I wanna
fancy the
Yeah,
most.
I want to pick up where we left off, kind of, because Dina and Ellie staying together is a very
Mhm.
big deviation from the video game where Dina stays behind.
Yep.
She's too sick. Ellie leaves on her own. It is when she finds Jesse. And then they work together and they go back to Dina. So having Dina and Ellie still together is a huge difference, and one that I'm really curious to see how they handle. Specifically because you're gonna have to remind me, Stuart, because you're the expert on the video game. My memory is not so great. So the fire that we see at the end of the episode, the scars set that fire, Seraphites set that fire, or are we expecting that is a Tommy Jesse thing?
I think it could be a Tommy and Jesse
I
situation
thought so too.
because
Yeah.
it was very reminiscent of the Hillcrest explosion that you get
Yes.
when Ellie is on her own, which would make so much more sense, I think. Which again is, I wonder if we're going to get like Ellie and Dina heading through Hillcrest in order to get through
Mhm.
there. But the problem is we've seen the direction of where they're headed to, because that's where Nora is. There's no suburbs between here and there, so
Yeah.
I think we might be getting Hillcrest cut from this game, and if that's the case, I'm gonna be furious.
You were really looking forward to Hillcrest. Yeah.
Hillcrest is the thing that I've had on my wish list from day one because I don't know, my expectations for it are through the roof. Perhaps it's better that it's not included because if they were to do it an injustice, I'd be probably more outraged. But in
Mhm.
my mind, I could see how you could have this almost like one shot of going through and sneaking and stealthing through this tall grass and just this sense of fear, much like what we had in the episode just gone, but heightened to the nth degree. And then the revelation that Jesse was there, perhaps with Tommy. Now that we're having this kind of perhaps a bit of a rewrite in terms of the motivations for why they're in Seattle. I If we don't get Hillcrest, I'll be very sad. I'll be so sad.
Yeah, because it's the epitome of the stealth tactic, right? Like
Mhm.
it embodies so much of that. And of course, it's also like where Jesse comes into the picture. So I'm really curious how they're going to handle all of this with, worth noting, we didn't see Jackson at all this episode. So like, I'm also curious if we do get Tommy and Jesse joining, are we going back? Are we going back to Jackson? Are we establishing that? Are we just going to, is it going to be a surprise? Like we're just going to, all of a sudden it's Jesse and Tommy. And then they'll just say something like, yeah, we came after you. I don't know. Like, I'm really
Oh,
curious how they're going to do all of that because it is so different. And we knew this, Stuart, going into this season that they were going to have to make a lot of changes because the story is
yes.
so much more complicated than the first game is. But I'm a little I'm a I'm a little nervous, mostly because, Stuart, we know there's only 7 episodes. We're already on episode 5. Like there's only 3 episodes left and there's so much to do and not a ton of time to do it. And we've seen the run times. Like these episodes
Mhm.
are not like an hour and a half or anything. Like they don't have a lot of time. So
No.
I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous at what they're gonna do. I agree. Hillcrest is terrifying, and I hated it as much as I loved it. So like I don't know. I did see dogs on the coming attractions thing, and that
Well, it
made me
looks like we're
sad.
getting. It looks like we are getting a bit more of the history into the WLF. Like I think we're
Mhm.
getting a bit more Isaac. We're really milking the Jeffrey Wright of it all, which I'm very happy about. Like if we are going to lose something like Hillcrest, then I would much rather get into the lore of the world because we have Hillcrest. We have that as the game, and I can play that through however
Right.
many times I like. So if we are going to sacrifice something so profound as that, I'd much rather get more information on the formation of the WLF, or at least
Yeah.
the situation. So based on the upcoming stuff, there's a clip of we want to know why you did friendly fire, I think it is, or like something around like that, which sounds like the Owen interrogation,
Mhm.
of like why you've turned on your own people kind of thing. We then get oh gosh, there's so much to unpack in that alone. But we get obviously the got to be going to the hospital because they talked about the lower levels. The reference to the whole floor being empty, not even the rats.
You know my
Such a
eyes
good
went wide on
Easter egg.
that. Yeah.
Every game player at that point has just gone, oh,
Excuse me? What? Yeah.
do you think there's a world in which we get the Rat King this season?
No,
Like,
I don't think so.
I hope we don't. I hope that it is safe for Abby and that Abby gets that moment. I hope it's just a very, very early tease and an Easter egg for the fans and stuff. But yeah, there's comments out there from people speculating, and I'm like, oh,
I just
what if
don't
they
think
would
so.
throw it?
I think it's going to be next season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and we're getting the spores literally next episode, which is why
Yes.
part of me was like, what the, like, why are we doing spores now? We just, the whole thing with Ellie and Dina. But again, I like the bite. I'm not trying to be like super negative. I'm excited to see the actual spores episode because like the thing that I love that they've done is having this like the network of spores, and if you touch one here, they know a mile away. I love that in the show.
Mhm.
So now we're just adding another thing, which is spores, which is dangerous and like beautiful in the little shot that we've seen of it. So I'm really excited to see all of that stuff. But yeah, there's so much that like they have on that next time on. I'm like, whoa, we are like, there is so much happening on this show right now. I don't even know how to keep it all straight. One thing I wanted to bring up, Stuart, that you actually brought to my attention, I wanted to put it in the spoiler section just to be, ultra safe, was from last episode when we see Ellie going through Joel's room after he is dead, and we see Joel's guitar doesn't have strings on it. So seemingly when he does replace Ellie's guitar strings, he just takes them off of his own guitar to give to her.
It's so adorable and so heartbreaking. I mean, it makes
Yeah.
practical sense in this world because obviously, again, you're not going to have many guitar strings lying around. I imagine that, as we saw from the fact in the game, when you go to try and get new strings for a guitar, you somehow have to traverse through a hotel, get into an argument about your immunity, find out about some dead lovers that escaped Jackson, and all sorts. Like there's it's difficult to do these things. So of course Joel would do it. But then yeah, this was something I spotted on Reddit and then instantly shared to you because I was like, well, now I'm sobbing all over again because the trauma of that episode didn't hit enough, seemingly. And so noticing that detail was just so heartbreaking because of course Joel would. He's in full dad mode and he would have sacrificed anything to make Ellie happy. Oh,
Yeah.
well, everything except tell the truth, but
Yeah. Well, you can't do everything, Stuart.
oh gosh,
Yeah.
it's a vibe.
No, beyond that, pregnancy reveal, we know Dina's gonna end up having the baby and all of that fun stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I also kind of was sad. I'm glad we got the Dina being again very tactical, but I was almost a little sad that we didn't get the like she has the map out, she's listening to the radios, she has like all of this
Polaroids and
intelligence she's
stuff, yeah.
gathered. Like they gave her a different tacticalness, which made me still happy. And we do get the counting of the clickers, and then it's like, well, I might as well not even bother anymore because there's so many of them I can't keep track.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just missed the like, oh, and here's the whole map of like, because it was so quick at the end of the episode, Stuart, that I was like a little bit confused, which probably is intended and like most people are. But I was like, oh, but I wanted the map where Dina's like, oh, and I know this person's here and I have photos of all of them, and but that's okay.
You want to feel like there is a hit list that you're working through at the very least.
Yeah, she's Arya Stark. She has her list.
But considering there are 5 targets, Owen, well, we know Abby isn't going to be one that's hit because Abby is going to emerge probably at the theater with the whole kind of you wasted it scene.
Yes.
Owen and Mel are going to be hitting the aquarium in that episode, which is probably going to be the finale of this season.
Yeah.
Manny is probably going to get hit in that episode as well, probably at the very beginning, I suspect.
Yeah.
Because dies by Tommy sniper fire in
Right.
pursuit of that. So we could bring Manny forward then, because Manny's serving the Jordan role as well, because obviously he's got the bitch scar on his head. And so there is maybe a bit of a choice there. And then Nora's definitely getting whacked next episode.
Oh, next episode,
Um,
yeah.
and it's going to
Yeah.
end like obviously with the spores, and
that's-
that's going to be the thing that goes into episode 6, which is going to be the flashback to the museum.
Right.
So we get some more Pedro back into the whole situation.
Yeah.
So
It's just
yeah,
worth noting too, like we don't see Abby or any of them this episode either.
No.
Like it was very Dina, Ellie, little smattering of Isaac, and like
Well, this is where I think that the next episode, if we do get the interrogation into Owen as to why he's suddenly gone a bit AWOL, I think we're going to get maybe a teasing of that scene. So we're going to get a bit more of the Salt Lake Cruise kind of situation. So maybe by the end, when Owen and Mel do come to their demise, maybe we feel a bit more of a kind of like sadness for Owen's situation, because like, well, Owen was
True.
seeing the light, maybe.
Yeah.
This whole lending of complexity things. I think that's my current working theory. But I mean, I thought they were cutting the TV station, so what do I know?
Who knows? We'll have to see. Like, obviously, we're still getting surprised by some things.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I'm excited for next episode. Is it bad of me to say that I'm more excited for episode 6 because I know it's the like flashbacks episode? Like, I
Yeah.
just want the museum so badly, Stuart. Like, I just want it so badly. That I can't wait to get to that episode. But next episode's gonna be great. There's like a lot of good stuff to love, right? Like there's like the Nora
Yeah.
stuff. There's a lot of stuff to love next episode.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
an
can't wait to
eager for
get
them. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to the museum thing. But the thing is, though, with the way in which this scheduling is working, and if we do believe that there is a Eugene-centric flashback, maybe it's not the
Right.
whole episode has been predicted. It's most likely going to be alongside that museum scene, which means we're not only going to get the very happy, lovely moment with Joel, we're also going to see Joel probably at his worst as well. Because
Yeah.
current working beliefs is that Eugene finds out about Ellie's immunity, and Joel has to do some very nasty stuff to keep that secret.
Yeah.
So we may get that as well. So yeah, don't
It
go
was the
into
best
it.
of times. It was the worst of times.
It was.
know?
It was.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is with The Last of Us. You know, you gotta take the good with the
Yeah.
bad.
Exactly. Oh, big episode, with bigger episodes to come. So before we wrap up fully and close this out, should we end as we always do with a bit of Will Livingston?
Yes, please.
Right. Well, now Isaac's not a chef by day, we know that. But when it comes to torture, he really does know how to sear a fight. So
Whoa!